Yeah, I mean, he's got to take the ball and run with it here. And like I said, he's played really well for us this year. And, he's going to be put a little bit more in the spot now, not so much of a rotation, right? So I think he's prepared for it, and I think he wants that.
I think so too.
So just looking ahead here, if we're talking about the starts, you go, obviously starting tonight, Friday against the Sabres. It's Hill to be for me, for sure, right? Because you don't want the 2-day thing, scary, just what happened with Stolars. And then and then I guess you have to go Wall on Saturday against the Isles, and then you go to Monday against
Wall
the Jets.
again.
Wall?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
All day long.
And then you're off till Friday against the Red Wings.
That's the closeout.
So 4 games till Christmas. You see him getting 3 of them.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Give Hill to be
I do, and
but Sam, if he can't use him that
little,
much, it's like he can't play a playoff
little
series.
different
Yeah,
scenario.
I know.
I understand, but
No.
we literally just had this conversation with Stolars where
know.
you guys were mad about him starting in 2 games 48 hours later, and
Yeah.
this guy is just as, if not more, injury prone than Stolars.
Yeah.
I don't mind with the Saturday, Monday. Both are at home, and you should be able to take care of business against the Islanders at home Saturday night, and then finish it off with a good effort against a very good, solid hockey club in the Jets.
It would be crazy. Like, let's say Wool gets hurt somewhere in that stretch where you entered a playoff series.
Why do you just throw that out?
Good Lord.
What do you mean?
Okay.
We're the first guy to thought.
Why
We're
don't you
talking
just-
about it.
Why don't you just say, I hope he gets a shutout?
Expressly what we're talking about.
That's like saying get a shutout 5 minutes before the game's over.
I wonder if they would literally do a tandem in playoffs and say, we don't want either guy going on 48 hours. Your game, your game, your game, your game, back and forth in the
The
postseason.
answer is no.
I agree.
No.
I agree.
Want to talk about the third line?
Yeah, it's pretty good. So the Leafs are finally healthy. They've gone through a stretch where, they were really thin, and then recently have got back. Who have they got back? So December 7th, Pacioretty. The 10th, Domi. 12th, McCabe. 14th, McMahon. And tonight, Camp. All back. So there are 5 guys back in the past week or 2.
All right, let's go to Craig Berube, clip 5 on getting some help.
I love that they scored. I want them to score, but it's the mindset that they had, in my opinion, was, Max and Robbie and Mac, they skated and they were on people, and they played fast and they played north, and they were all physical. That's really what it boils down to. They were in there, they competed on pucks, they won puck battles, they took the body, and they attacked, and they got to stay with that. And it's just about them managing the puck. Like, we don't need you to be cute. We need you to play this way, play north. Get on the forecheck, play fast, get in there, win puck battles, get to the net, So they did a real good job last game for us.
We don't need you to be fancy pants.
You could legitimately AI generate Berube. Like,
Don't be too fancy.
I think you could AI generate anyone.
Some people to change their opinions. This guy, you know exactly what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
Like Sheldon Keefe last year, you never really were sure.
That's fair.
You know exactly what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
I saw everything. We saw everything that he spoke of between Domi, Robertson, and McMahon, and I think McMahon's been very good since he's come back. He's another one that just, you're not so worried about anything except, hey, stay in the lineup.
Yeah.
Stay healthy.
You know what I think a lot of fans,
Just
Leafs
do your
fans,
job.
probably don't know is how much these guys were hurt with the Marlies. Like, McMahon was regularly, when they wanted him, he wasn't quite healthy. Wool got hurt with the Marlies multiple times too. So it's not like we're just harping on a few NHL injuries here. This has been.
I really do think, though, that McMahon is a bit of a X factor for the Leafs. Just in terms of,
it's tough not to notice that when he's in.
I got to tell you, being at the game on Saturday night, his speed jumps off the ice.
Oh, yeah.
Like his,
And he can take it to the net.
when he drops that shoulder and cuts the puck into the middle of the ice,
Yeah.
there's not many guys in the Leafs that look like that with it. And, he had that breakaway where he got stoned by Husso on Saturday. Like, he really, really was flying up and down the ice for me.
Yeah.
It's just can we count on you? Are you reliable?
And can you do anything about that if you're him? Is it just a matter of, you don't think it's like the guy doesn't want to do it? That's not it, right? It's just. unlucky, I guess.
I-
He's 94th percentile in the NHL in speed bursts over 20 miles per hour.
I would say that looking at this lineup with these forward lines, if those 3 lines, and I know it's a lot to ask, but can show and turn out to be like, that's a really good top 9. And, you can have the conversation about Reeves, and a lot of certain members of Leafs Nation think that Reeves maybe shouldn't be playing as much as he is, and whatever. We can have that conversation, but I don't hate having him out there for 8 minutes a night or whatever. But and that fourth line is big and long and strong or whatever. But I do look at that forward core, and if you add something else to that, even it gets even more deep.
I mean,
Holmberg out though, eh?
listen, I'm not a huge, like, at times Reeves fan, but I think he gets underrated a little bit too for the physicality he also brings. If I'm not mistaken, he is one of the top hitters, not just on Toronto, but in the league.
You're not mistaken. He
In the
finishes
league.
every check, yeah.
I don't know. Do you have access to that real quick?
Yep.
Where would he be amongst hitters in the league?
Part of it is like having to tease it out for per 60 because of his minutes.
Yeah.
But if you give me half a sec, I'll say minimum 10 games.
Like, he's to me, if he's
Yeah, he's 5th in the league.
5th in the league, that's pretty good,
That's per 60?
That's per
Yeah.
60.
Yeah.
It's per 60.
No, he leans on everybody.
right? He's a tone setter. So
First in the league is Kiefer Sherwood, by the way.
I mean,
with a hat trick,
Yeah.
the other night.
Kipper, you're going to probably hate this, and you may hate it too, but I saw the picture, like, how they put out that cheesy, like, belt picture after every game?
Mm-hmm.
They put out, I don't know who got the belt on Saturday, probably John Tavares, who got a hat trick, but they put out that picture, and it's Matthews, and it's Tavares in it, and Reeves is in the middle there. He's got a big tooth. Like, they seem to genuinely like him. Like, that kind of does matter, too.
Yeah.
I think he's popular.
I also don't think he's a bad hockey player.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's.
I think he makes plays at times. He can come up with a puck, get it back to the
Yeah.
point, go to the net.
I think Reeves is like the philosophical debate of like, are you someone who just like sees him as this enforcer or whatever? In which case, yeah, you might rather have Pontus Holmberg in that spot tonight. But I think it's fine to have the element of Reeves as a little something that Holmberg doesn't.
I'm telling you right now.
Something he doesn't.
I'm telling you right now, if I got to pick between those two, it's a very obvious choice for me. It's Reeves 10 times out of 10.
Just
Really?
one
Yeah.
more before we move on. Discussing the top 9 here. In your world,
Mhm.
is there now a possibility that you start the Stanley Cup playoffs with McMahon, Domi, and Robertson as
way.
your third line?
No way.
Okay,
Just-
so what are we talking about then? The last 10 minutes?
Well, because you have to win games and get to the playoffs.
Yeah, Domi Robertson is not a pair with Domi in the middle. That I
Okay,
feel
all right.
you're
So,
gonna-
okay. I mean,
You're searching for
It's okay.
anything to give these guys a blow
It's
in the
okay.
top 6.
it's okay to talk about it mid-December.
Of course.
And give them kudos,
Yeah.
but it's not a long-term growth to going deep in the playoffs for you.
Let's say Nicky Bobby got red hot, shoots it in a whole bunch over the next stretch. Could you see him being here in playoffs? Because this has been the comment. We've pretty much said he's not going to be.
No, they trade him out at the
Listen,
peak, the peak of his value. That's what you do. Like they should have done at the start of the preseason.
The answer is yes, he could be around, but he's going to be around with more depth than what we see now. So I envision him possibly being the 22nd guy in the roster.
He's scratch and
Right?
score.
And
Put
then
him in.
and then he comes in when you need a goal, and if he does, maybe it's sliding him second, third line. But as a regular, to build towards a battling third line, I'm with you that it just doesn't seem like a Domi Robertson tandem along with a heavier guy like McMahon would be still possible for me.
I think it's more likely he's watching the game from San Jose when they trade him for a depth team. Anyways, we should go to get to Jim Hill.
Okay, we got Jim Neal. When we turn around, we'll get more into the Dallas Stars, but we will dive in deeper on the Leaf Blue line as well. OEL, what have we seen lately from him, and where's the comfort zone on which side he should play on? That and more when we return to Real Kipper and Bourne.
Leafs facing center crisis amid injuries, eyeing trade market for solutions. As the Toronto Maple Leafs battle through a growing injury list and a suspension, their lack of depth at the center position has become a glaring issue. According to Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman in his latest 32 Thoughts article, the Leafs are among the teams exploring trade options to bolster their lineup. This effort is coming amid increasing competition from teams like the Chicago Blackhawks and Nashville Predators, who have also set their sights on improving their center depth. Friedman didn't mince words about the Leafs' predicament. The teams currently focusing on centers, including Chicago and Nashville, must consider when others will enter the market. Toronto will undoubtedly be one of those teams, he wrote. While the Blackhawks and Predators may have an edge in terms of cap space and assets, the Leafs remain a team to watch as the season progresses. The Leafs situation is urgent, with up to 7 forwards currently unavailable due to injury or suspension. Ryan Reeves is serving a 5-game suspension, while key players like Austin Matthews, upper body, Matthew Knies, upper body, Kaye Jarnkrok, groin/sports hernia, David Kampf, lower body, Max Domi, lower body, and Max Pacioretty, lower body, are all sidelined. The team has even considered temporarily shifting Mitch Marner to the center position, highlighting the severity of their depth issues. This isn't just a short-term concern for the Leafs. Depth at center has been a persistent challenge for the team, and while stopgap solutions like Marner could help in the interim, the front office appears keen to explore longer-term fixes. For fans of the blue and white, this has been a recurring theme. The Leafs' center depth often becomes a problem at the worst possible times. James Myrtle of The Athletic recently added more fuel to the speculation, naming several potential trade targets who could help the Leafs address their issues. Among them is Ryan O'Reilly, a familiar name for Toronto fans. O'Reilly, who signed a 4-year, $18 million deal with Nashville in 2023, might be a trade candidate if the Predators' underwhelming start to the season, 6-11-3, 31st in the league, prompts a rebuild. However, his steep price tag and history with the Leafs, including rejecting a free agency offer less than 2 years ago, make this a complex and potentially unlikely move. Other names mentioned by Myrtle include former Leaf Nazem Kadri, currently with Calgary, as well as players like Michael Granlund, Nick Jugstad, Brock Nelson, Yanni Gourde, Trent Frederick, Radek Faksa, and Sean Corrali. While some of these options seem more plausible than others, it's clear that general manager Brad Treliving will need to get creative to find the right piece without mortgaging the team's future. Cap space remains one of the biggest obstacles for the Leafs. Unlike teams like Chicago and Nashville, which have more flexibility and assets, Toronto is walking a financial tightrope. As Friedman noted, competition will intensify as cap-constrained teams strive to create room. For the Leafs, that could mean waiting for the market to develop further, a risky move given their current needs. The situation also highlights the Leafs' ongoing struggle to build a roster that can withstand the grueling nature of an NHL season. Injuries are an inevitability in hockey, but Toronto's current predicament underscores the importance of depth, a quality the team has struggled to consistently maintain. Looking back on recent years, the Leafs have often leaned heavily on their star players, particularly Matthews, Marner, and William Nylander. While these players have delivered in spades, the lack of reliable depth options has left the team vulnerable in critical moments. The current crisis at center is merely the latest example of this recurring issue. Some fans have called for more aggressive moves from Treliving, arguing that now is the time to strike while the team's core is in its prime. Others, however, are more cautious, pointing to the dangers of overpaying for short-term fixes. Striking the right balance will be key, especially as the Leafs aim to keep their championship window open. Despite the challenges, there's no denying that Toronto has the talent to be a contender, provided they can patch up their lineup. The ongoing rumors and speculation surrounding potential trades show that the Leafs are at least exploring every avenue to strengthen their roster. For fans of the blue and white, this moment feels like a pivotal point in the season. With a lineup ravaged by injuries and a tough schedule ahead, the Leafs must act decisively to avoid falling behind in the standings. The addition of a dependable center could be the difference between weathering the storm or watching another season slip away. Whether it's O'Reilly, Kadri, or another surprise name, one thing is certain: the Leafs are under pressure to deliver. And for a fan base as passionate and loyal as Toronto's, there's no room for excuses. The time to act is now, and Leafs Nation is watching closely. As the trade deadline approaches, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Treliving pull off a move that solidifies the Leafs' status as a contender, or will the search for center depth become yet another chapter in the team's long history of what-ifs? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, it's never boring in Leafs land. As the Maple Leafs navigate this critical juncture, their fan base remains as vocal as ever. Toronto is a city that breathes hockey, and the pressure on Brad Treliving to make the right moves is immense. Every decision he makes, or doesn't make, will be scrutinized, from talk radio to social media, where Leafs Nation is already debating the merits of the various names being floated as potential trade targets. Among the louder debates is whether the team should prioritize a high-profile acquisition like Ryan O'Reilly or Nazem Kadri, or focus on a lower-cost, reliable center who can fill a supporting role without costing too many future assets. While O'Reilly's leadership and playoff experience make him an attractive option, his contract and recent history with the Leafs add layers of complexity to any potential reunion. Similarly, Kadri's gritty, two-way playstyle remains a fan favorite, but his cap hit and availability might render him an unrealistic target. Another factor complicating the Leafs situation is their tight salary cap. While Chicago and Nashville can make moves with relative ease due to their financial flexibility, Toronto must navigate a labyrinth of constraints to make any trade work. This likely means including salary retention or moving existing contracts to make room, which could drive up the cost of any potential deal. The question then becomes, how much are the Leafs willing to sacrifice to address their immediate needs? One potential trade partner generating buzz is the Seattle Kraken. Yanni Gourde, a dependable two-way center, has been mentioned as a possible target. Gourde's versatility and championship pedigree from his time with Tampa Bay make him an appealing option. Seattle, however, is in playoff contention and may not be inclined to part with a key piece unless the Leafs can provide a substantial return. Another intriguing name is Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders. Nelson is a consistent scorer and reliable faceoff-man, qualities that would undoubtedly bolster Toronto's center depth. However, the Islanders are notoriously cautious when it comes to trades, and prying Nelson away would likely require a significant package, including picks or prospects that the Leafs may be hesitant to part with. For all the trade talk, some analysts believe the solution might come from within. Sheldon Keefe has shown a willingness to experiment with his lineup, and players like Pontus Holmberg or Fraser Minton could be given an opportunity to step up. While relying on less experienced players carries risks, it might be the Leafs' only option if the trade market proves too costly or slow to develop. Adding to the Leafs' urgency is the timing. The Atlantic Division remains one of the toughest in the league, with teams like Boston, Florida, and Tampa Bay continuing to dominate. Any prolonged slump could see Toronto slip further down the standings, putting their playoff hopes in jeopardy. For a team with Stanley Cup aspirations, failing to address their weaknesses could have catastrophic consequences. Brad Treliving's history as a general manager suggests he's not afraid to make bold moves. His time with the Calgary Flames was marked by blockbuster trades, including the acquisition of Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar in the Matthew Tkachuk deal. Leafs fans hope he brings that same decisiveness to Toronto, especially as the trade deadline looms. Beyond the immediate need for a center, this situation underscores a broader issue with the Leafs roster construction. Depth has been a perennial concern, and while Toronto boasts some of the league's top-end talent, their reliance on a handful of stars has left them vulnerable in moments like this. Moving forward, addressing this imbalance must be a priority for the front office if the team is to achieve sustained success. As the Leafs head into a critical stretch of the season, the next few weeks could define their trajectory.